Hello, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going?
It's us, the Olivers. Brian,
And Sarah.
Oliver.
Oliver.
We
We did it again.
did it again.
Hey, guys, we're looking forward to coming to y'all every time we come to you. May not be weekly, but you better believe that we're going to have at least two or three a month coming to you because we are enjoying having this time that we're spending with you. It has been a blast.
hmm
Me and Sarah is not only learning more about each other, but more about, just life. And it's building our relationship, it's making us stronger, and it's doing those things that are needed in a marriage that's supposed to happen.
That's right.
You think so?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, I think so too. So today, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about a great subject topic. But before we get into that, I just want everybody to take a second and like our posts, make a comment. But the main thing we want you to do is share, especially with your friends, family. They don't have to be church people or whatever have you. But we're looking for you to just share with your content, not content.
Right.
Share with your friends,
Contacts, maybe.
contacts. There you go. You get talking loud. I'm glad it's not live TV because it would be all over the place. Share your contacts.
Share with your
Share
contacts.
with your contacts. Okay,
This is
maybe.
why we have this is why we have conversations, right? Because we can help each other out in communication.
Oh, thank you so much, baby.
I got
appreciate
you. I got
it.
you.
I appreciate it. So share your contacts. Did I say it wrong again? Okay, why don't I let you talk for a minute while I get myself
Get
together
yourself
over
together.
here? Because
Get yourself together, Brian.
something ain't going right. I'm gonna take me a sip, and you do your thing for just a minute.
All right. So, in today's conversation, we want to talk about kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly things that we learned from our parents that we have talked about down through the years, things that we have noticed that have come up in our own marriage and our own relationship, and just in getting to the root of things and trying to figure out how to keep progressing and moving forward in our own personal lives as well as in our joined life together as a married couple
Hmm.
and then also it extends to our own parenting, but just things that we got from our parents or that we learned from our parents, learned behaviors, and things that our parents didn't talk to us about
Hmm.
that we talk to our kids about, or that we have decided that we wanted to do things differently than our parents did things.
Hmm.
So that's what this conversation today is
Hmm.
going to be about. And like we said, we would, certainly appreciate all the likes, the comments, the shares. Share it with people that don't already know us. People that you know in your extended circle that may get a benefit from listening to us and participating in these kinds of conversations.
Because remember, these conversations that we have amongst each other, we're hoping that because we know that everybody don't talk about everything, especially to their spouse, and we're hoping that our show will spark something in your relationship or in the relationships that you have, whether you're married or
Dating.
dating or best friends or whatever, will spark something in your relationship that says, "Hey, those I heard these guys talking about this. What you think about it?"
Hmm.
What's your opinion on this? What's your
Right.
perspective on that? And then we want you to put some in the comments because we want to hear other perspectives
Hmm.
on the different subject topics that we're coming up with, that we're talking, that we're going through, because we're not experts.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. Like we don't consider ourselves to be
Mm-hmm.
experts. We're not, we're not doctors, and we don't play one on TV either. Like we're not doing this in a sense to push our own, agenda or
Right.
what we think about things. We just really want to open up a conversation and share our own experiences because we agree that we feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's really important as not even just as couples, but when you talk about things that are bothering you or
Mm-hmm.
that you're dealing with or trying to figure out or come to some sort of a consensus
Mm-hmm.
on, it's always helpful to know that you're not alone in the things that you deal with, and
Right.
you're not the only weirdo who's thinking that, like, oh my god, I'm the only one who feels like this. And when you start talking about some of these things in trusted circles,
Right. You find out that there's other weirdos just
right,
like
you find out that there's other weirdos just like you, and it's just good to know that you're not alone, and
Right.
to realize that everyone deals with all kinds of crazy things all the time, and just different emotions and issues that come up. So it's good to know you're not alone, and it's good to know that there are other perspectives, and talking about it, you get a different understanding of things, and a different perspective, and that you might be able to apply,
Right.
or you might not be able to apply, but it's still good to know.
Right. So make sure you comment so we can hear another perspective on the subject topic that we're talking about. So what we're talking about today is the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And the ugly.
What do we mean by that? In just think back when you were a child, your parents. There were things that you knew about. There were things you didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
There were things that were hidden from you. There were things that you inherited just by you being your parents' kids that you know some about. And then there's other things that you don't know about yourself that's locked in there, either waiting to be unlocked or just sitting dormant, and then something unlocks. And you're like, where did that come from? Well, guess what? It came from your mom and daddy's cousins, uncles, relative on their other side. Somebody you don't even know. So that's why we're having this conversation. We're going to reveal a few things in our lives. I'm going to talk about it. But hopefully it will cause you to think in your family, what is in your family? What is in your family line? What is deep down in your DNA? And that's the quest that you have to go on. We're going to share with you a little bit of ours, but you got a quest to go on. So, I think I'm going to start with you today, Sarah.
Okay.
I'm going to start with you and start with your good and bad and ugly, or whichever subject topic that I'm trying to get that. See, somebody told me that I sound country when I'm up here.
You said you sound country.
I said I sound country.
Somebody, I don't know who.
Somebody I don't know
That
who
was
looks
you.
like me said I sound country when I talk. So I'm trying to get more eloquent like my wife and pronounce words, very distinctively and not slur my words and use a few big words. I might throw some in there today. We'll see. But you go ahead and start, baby.
Okay, so just in terms of my family, so we can start with Dad because
Because
why
it's
not?
Father's Day.
Because it is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, Brian Oliver.
Thank you.
To a great dad.
Boom.
Yeah.
I need some. I'm gonna put some special effects. Let some confetti fall on me.
Just
Since it's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day.
Since it's Father's Day. So, let's see. So with my dad was a very social person. He was a musician like you. He was always, gigging and, playing at different parties and bars and events and that kind of thing. But he was very social. He was really funny. He was kind, and he was really generous, actually. And so it's an interesting thing because, like, I know that about my dad, but my dad and I, as you know, and as, people who know me personally my siblings and I were not close to our dad. My dad, of course, had his own sets of issues. He was an alcoholic. That's not like a secret. It just is, it is what it is. Like, that was his thing that he had to deal with. And so, as a result of that, like, he wasn't around us very often. He would go out and do his thing. He was, with friends or, family, like his brothers and that kind of thing. And so, he, like I said, he had his shortcomings, and he was not perfect by any means. None of us are as parents, that's for sure. But and after he passed away is really when I kind of got a whole new perspective on my dad. I felt like I gained a different understanding of him, as a person. And despite his shortcomings and, in conversations with my mom, I felt like, um, she was like, your dad loved you guys. He really, really loved you guys. He asked about you guys all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He always wanted to know what you guys needed, or if he needed to do anything or whatever. Which was interesting for me because I never, like, that was not necessarily something that he expressed.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't like, Mija, like, I love you. Like, are you okay? Do you need anything? Like, there was never really that sort of dialogue. So it was interesting for me to realize that, that he did ask about those things.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't talk to us. He talked to my mom about it. And I think he had a lot of, guilt and a lot of, well, yeah, just guilt
Mm-hmm.
about, not being able to, like, really be close to us. And it's really unfortunate, but, at the end of the day, I really feel like, he did his
Mm-hmm.
best. And even though his best wasn't necessarily, what I needed or what my siblings needed,
Mm-hmm.
he did what he could. And, and that's about all you can do. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
people, you only have a certain skill set, in terms of, emotional IQ and all
Right.
that good stuff.
All that. Then what your parents taught you,
Mm-hmm.
you only got that to go off of. It's not like there's a college course on, well, maybe now, but back
Right.
then there was no college course on parenting and how to help
Relate.
relate and how
Mm-hmm.
get your kids socially to interject into their community and all that kind of stuff. They didn't have that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I totally understand. I
Mm-hmm.
totally understand.
Mm-hmm.
My father, um, my father's situation is a little different than hers because my dad drank also. He drank a lot. But everything that she knew about her father, I didn't know about mine. My father, from stories that I've heard in
Mm-hmm.
my family,
Mm-hmm.
my father was mean. He was very mean. My father will pop off and fight in a minute. My father drank a lot, and he would dance with the. My mom told me he would dance with the women, and he would roll his belly, and he have them all around him, and women all around him as he rolled his belly, and he could dance and all
Different
that.
times.
Huh?
Different times.
Different times, and he was a pool shark, and that was what he did to make money to support the household.
That's
He
funny.
just whipped people in pool. Now, none of that stuff I knew about my dad. What I know about my dad when I came along was my dad was a God-fearing man. He went to church, and everybody in the house, it won't know I'm staying home because I want to stay home and look at TV. No, when he went to church, everybody went to church. So I
Right.
knew my father as Deacon Oliver. I knew my father as you better be on time for church or else. I knew my father as a family man. Loved my mom. That's what I know about my father. All that partying and fighting and being mean and stuff like that. I don't know anything about that. You know. So from my experience of my father, my perspective is I gained from my father his being a strong, independent man.
Mm-hmm.
If you know something to be true, and you stand on that,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't deviate. And from my side of the family, which is different from Sarah's side of the family, we will argue you down to the ground. You're gonna cry. Something's gonna happen,
Somebody's gonna
but
cry.
we gonna win. It's a dog fight, and we gonna win. You know, that's one of the I feel is one of the good things, but it also can be one of the bad things that I heard it from my father.
Uh-huh.
Because let's say I think I'm right, but my wife is really right, and she cried. What am I gonna do? Do I bite her or snap her neck? Something, No, you gonna take this truth. No, no, So even though I'm a product of my mother and my
Mm-hmm.
father, I am my own person. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things we want you to take away from the good, bad, and the ugly. I know when I was younger, they used to say, the mama had a baby out of wedlock, the daughter most likely gonna have a baby out of wedlock around the same time, and mama was on welfare, baby gonna be on welfare. You don't have to be, you don't have to have that same future
Right.
as what your parent did. That's what happened to them. Okay, it happened to them. It does not have to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things we want to talk about. We got good, we got bad, and we got some ugly things from our parents and from our relatives that's passed down to us. But guess what? You don't have to be the person that continue on in that ugliness.
Right. For sure.
Am I right?
You are right.
You know, my father, I was not a fighter. Although I do feel rage inside of me sometimes for no apparent reason. Just woke up, just want to punch somebody in their goddamn face. But, hey, that doesn't have to be my future. You can control that.
Yeah.
Hey, you can control it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be, you are a product of your parents, but you don't have to have the same future or outcome as your parents are. Just like they say, you should be the greater one.
Right. And I think, our parents always, the goal is for our kids to do better than we did.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly that's, something that our parents wanted, for us too. And even though you when you're growing up, you don't have any necessarily any other point of reference, or you don't have any say in the matter in terms of like what's going on. You don't get to pick your family. You're born and then there you are. In terms of, your learning and growing up environment. However, at some point, once you become an adult, you really are responsible for your own situation and your own viewpoints and your own choices. You can't always blame everything on, my mom was a crackhead, or, my dad wasn't there for me. Okay. But now, that's sort of, those are things that as an adult, you really have to address within yourself. So that you can evaluate, all those things and make sure that when you're trying to move forward, you're not hindering yourself, because that was how you grew up and that's what you got from your parents. But now you have that power to make those choices for yourself and change.
It's funny, me and my cousin in Texas, Angie, we had went. Hey Angie, we had went on a family history thing at one time. Find out who's in our family, lineage, and document who they are. See if we can find some pictures, and just kind of have that and all. And man, when you start to digging, you better know you're gonna find something. Me and Angie were finding out all kinds of stuff that was going on in the family, and that stuff that we didn't know nothing about. And when we start asking questions, man, people start whispering, "Don't talk about that." No. Why? Why is it such a big secret? So and so did this. Okay, they did that. Well, guess what? They may be dead now. Or nobody's going to really know about that in 50 years. It's not going to change the trajectory of the universe just because they had 7 wives. Why not talk about it? That's in our history. And it's one thing that we know about that you can learn from history. Things that have happened in your past, you should be learning from history. If something crazy happened, or something good happened and you want more good things to happen, that history lesson should tell you, okay, let's go down this path. So, things that I got from my mom. My mom is a patient woman. And for those of you that know my mom, she's a praying woman. That's what I got from my mom. My mom had a lot of patience with things that were going on. And I think that's where I got a lot of my patience from, even though it's I don't want to say I got a little bit of patience, but I got more than what I would have had if. Why are you laughing at me?
Just woulda.
I know. What I would have had if my dad had married somebody else that had kind of the same temperament as him. So I do have that modeled in my life, having patience. And I think when we first got married, and correct me if I'm wrong, baby, but I believe that you used to get mad at me because I didn't pop off at some things that were happening. She was ready to go in, the people, and you know how y'all women do and everything. Then she'd get mad at me because she's like, well, why you not mad? She's like, because it's not taking away from my paycheck. I ain't gonna let it take nothing off my life,
Well, yeah, no, I mean, certainly, there's certain things I mean, but there's a balance because there's certain things where I feel like, you should be a little bit more upset about that than you are.
You
Like,
hear that? I should
you
be a little bit
shouldn't.
more upset.
No, because in the beginning I was like, you are just like so even keeled
Mm-hmm.
and so and so patient, with certain things. Not everything, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just very, very even keeled. And so I was just, like
And so she was
something's wrong with you because
okay, right. She
you
was
shouldn't
aggravated
be.
at me, people. She was aggravated at me because I was patient. Now, what if I had got, well, I do have it, but what if I had activated the whole fighting at the first word thing? What would that make you feel better?
I don't know that it would have made me feel better. I think it was just different from what I had, experienced. And so, it was just like, it's just not normal. It's not normal.
Right. I'm the weirdo. I understand.
Amongst
What's
other
that
weirdos.
song? I'm a
Creep.
creep.
Right.
I'm a weirdo.
Yeah.
That's from Book of Life, just in case you want to know. Good song.
It's from other things too, but,
Hmm.
most recently in the Book of Life.
Hmm. So anyway, just know that, in your walk, learn something about your history. Learn something about your mother, your father, your grandparents.
Hmm.
And when you learn about them, guess what? You're learning about yourself
Hmm.
because you definitely have something that's in them inside of you.
Sure.
Find out what that is.
Sure.
You may find out that you can draw and you've never drawn in your life because 3 of your uncles before you could draw. And now all you got to do is just go and unlock that.
Right.
And unlock that.
Hmm.
I stop talking fast, I might get this thing out, like my wife, then I can speed up to her
You don't
speed.
have to do it like me. You're you, right? It's
It's right on me, god dang it. Shoot. Shoot, I'm me.
okay. You are you.
Well,
That's right.
anyway, good, bad, and ugly. I think that's some of the good things I got. Some of the bad things I think I got from my mom was my mom keep things kind of locked in, you know. And I do that in certain categories of my life.
Hmm.
I keep things locked in and I need to release it, you know. And so that's probably one of the bad things that I got from my mom because, I really need to, and I try and I work on it. That's the thing. When let me drop this little nugget on you. When you find out something about yourself that's not cool or can be improved upon or anything like that, guess what? Improve upon it. Work on it. Little by little, however much you can take, when it comes to um, what you should be doing in life. If you got a temper, work on that temper every day, little by little. Work on that temper, and then one day something's gonna happen, and where you would have like just went off on somebody, you would take that second thought, that second win. Uh, something would happen that will let you know that hey, these improvements that I have been doing for myself is in effect right now. That's how you change your generation. That's how you teach the next generation how to do things. That's how you bring something that's inside of you, that's in your DNA, that's been unlocked. That's how you bring it under control. Because just like Sarah said, you are the one. You are the one, the adult that makes those choices. You are the one that brings, how should I say it? That brings that produces the new life that comes. Did you hear that? Your choice will produce the new life or will kill the life that you got. Your choice. And so, what we should do in this good and bad and ugly is evaluate those things. Sometimes things are hard to look at. Would you agree, baby?
I would agree.
Things are hard to look at about yourself that's ugly. Nobody ever want to see something that's ugly on them or about them. But you know what? When you pay attention to it, I didn't say just look at it and then say, oh, that's ugly. I'm just going to put it in a little box and stick it over here and, out of sight, out of mind.
Right,
No,
right.
because at some point, it's going to come out.
Yeah.
So work on it. And especially with somebody that's supposed to be on your team. Come on. Boom. Team Oliver right there. Just let that ugly out. Let it out.
Yeah. Well, because it's going to come out at some point or another, right? I mean, this is, a conversation that we have had before where
Mm-hmm.
we talk about how, especially in that older generation where
Mm-hmm.
they called them the silent generation, like they didn't talk about anything. They didn't talk
Nothing.
about it. They didn't share it. It was just,
Nothing.
I'm just going to ignore it and I'm just gonna pray about it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just gonna go away. Nothing's ever gonna happen. But from a physiological standpoint, your body is not separate from your mind, which is not separate from your spirit.
Right.
It's all connected, and if you don't process those things, if you don't filter through those things, and at some point,
Mm-hmm.
deal with things, it will manifest itself in a
Mm-hmm.
physical way every single time. Aches and pains, stress, heart attacks, all of those. It does. Just because you don't think about it does not mean that it doesn't exist
Right.
anymore, or that it has gone away, or that it just is
Mm-hmm.
never going to affect you, because that's 100% not true.
Right. The brain is going to process it some way, and it's going to manifest and show up somewhere. So, although you don't see it now, down the road, you're going to see where you didn't let go of that divorce and it turned out to be a horrible thing. You're going to see it somewhere in your body
Right.
show up somewhere. You're going to see it somewhere in a relationship that you got with somebody or connection that you got with somebody.
Yeah.
You're going to see it. It's going to show up. It's going to manifest.
Yeah.
So deal with it now
Yeah.
so that you don't have to deal with it later.
Mm-hmm.
That is so important. Deal with your ugly now so that you can be beautiful later.
Right. And I think there was something that I've seen recently that was like, if you don't handle it, then it's going to handle you.
Right.
So, the choice is really yours. It's better to, deal with something head on
Mm-hmm.
than to, try to just deal with the consequences later on,
Mm-hmm.
as they come. So, yeah. My mom was also very, very patient, like
Mm-hmm.
yours, and my mom was a praying mom too. And like, even though my dad didn't really start going to church with us until the last, I don't know, few years of his
Mm-hmm.
life.
Few
But
years I remember.
yeah, but that was I mean, he wasn't gonna go, but we were definitely going.
Mm-hmm.
So like, he made sure that we were there always with, with our mom.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't necessarily join us, but it was definitely a do as I say, not as I do.
Right, right, right. I mean, you
When it
heard that
comes to
saying.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom was, similar to yours in that, very, more on. I think maybe my mom might have been a little quieter than your mom. I think your
Mm-hmm.
mom is a little more, outgoing than my mom was. My mom
Mm-hmm.
was really shy, and then, but in terms of patience, like, I think she didn't have a lot sometimes, because I remember her making comments like, grant me patience, Lord, but give it to me now. And, like, patience is a virtue. Aren't you glad
Mm-hmm.
you're so virtuous? And that kind of stuff, where she would kind of make jokes about it. She didn't like to wait around for things
Mm-hmm.
either. She, I probably got that from her, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a few of your mama traits.
Yeah.
Funny thing about James got a few of
Oh
mama
my
traits too.
gosh. Yeah. Our middle son, my mother is alive and well
Right.
in that boy. It's really funny, actually, to
Mm-hmm.
see that.
On sidebar, he made some tea the other day, and he put some kind of concoction
He said,
together.
I just added some more sugar and some fresh lemon juice. Our James is
Mm-hmm.
very specific.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, I added a little more sugar and some fresh squeezed lemon juice into the tea. Here, Mom, taste this. And I was like, holy crap, this tastes just like my mother's tea. Like, okay, James, you're in charge of making tea from
Right,
now
right,
on.
right, right. He's such a responsible young man.
Mm-hmm.
So click down in the comments, share with us what is good that you got out of your family from what's good in your DNA from your mom and your dad,
Mm-hmm.
or cousin, or what you have identified in your life. Let us know. Click in the comments. Let us know. We would love to read it. We love to take 5 minutes and share some of those. We won't share your name, but we'll share. One of our listeners said that they got this, or their perspective on what we were talking about
Yeah.
was this. That's what we want to do. We're going to get this podcast up to the point where and we're going to have a set time and a set
Yeah, we
day,
can do a live thing.
and we'll do a live thing. We're going to have music, bang. We're gonna have some stuff going on, and then you'll be able to call in. You'll be able to call in and give your opinion, just like talk. What is it? Talk shows and news talk, radio. All that kind of stuff. I already got the stuff. It's just a matter of getting it going and everything. So we're doing the groundwork now because we're trying to stimulate America. I feel like a politician right now. We're going to stimulate America to talk about these situations and to get an understanding of what's going on in their life.
Oh my goodness. You just slipped into preacher mode there too for a
Commercial
second.
time.
Right. Also, like if you do want to make a comment and you don't want your name to be on a public forum like YouTube or Facebook, you can also always,
just say it.
You could send us a message. You can send us an email. You can slide in our DMs and let us know, what your thoughts are. If you feel like you need a little bit more, privacy, you don't have to comment publicly.
Right. Well, we definitely want to know different perspectives in this conversation with Brian and Sarah. My girl over there.
Yeah. Cool.
She's the best I could do.
Nice. And so the point of communicating in conversations is to deal with comments like that.
That's a little private joke that we got. I was really telling her that she was the best that I could do. She's wonderful.
This was also
woman.
via text, by the way.
Right. This wonderful girl. I made a great pick, and then I told her she's the best that I could pick, and she took it as whew.
Well, you were the best that I could do. So hey, just my luck.
Ain't that's? No, I ain't gonna say it. Y'all just read in between the lines. Read in between the lines. You got anything else, baby?
Yeah, we had a few other things on there.
Go ahead.
So we have the good, the bad, the ugly. Let's say. So when we talk about ugly, like when we were talking about, what we were sort of sifting through what we wanted to say, like. When we talk about the ugly, we're talking about things and just imperfections. Like, it's not necessarily good. It's not necessarily, totally bad. It's just kind of in that in-between area where it's not real pretty. And so, and that just goes in more along the lines of like, well, our parents, like they did the best that they could, but they didn't have, a lot of the tools that we have now in terms of, valuing open communication and that kind of thing. Like, I feel like there's a lot of conversations that, our parents did not have with us or didn't necessarily share, insights with us. But that was, again, part of how they grew up too.
It's how they grew up.
The men didn't grow up to necessarily it wasn't modeled for them to be nurturers. Right. It wasn't modeled for them to be, warm and inviting with, with their kids or sometimes even with their spouses. Where that was considered a woman's work, But, we know now, of course, that the father relationship with their kids is super important. It's equally as important as a mother's job.
Yes, it is. And so, with the good, the bad, the ugly, I want you to get my phone and turn it off because I want to read some of the things that we wrote down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. There we go. I want y'all to hear this. Now I know I crack jokes sometimes, but I'm serious about this. I want y'all to hear this. I want some points of interest I want you to take with you. Points of interest. 1, you can have a different life than your parents. You can have a different the life that your parents lived, whether they were poor or whether they were under the influence of alcohol all the time, whether it was drugs. I know we picked those particular things out, alcohol and drugs. But it could have just been your dad was a pimp. He was a liar. Your mom was something else. They're not like you. That's if you're good. But whatever path they chose that path. So, point of interest, a point that we want you to take with you, you don't have to have the same life. You can have a different life in the life than your parents. And we hope that that life is a better life than what your parents are. Not to say that they had a bad life, but you can have a better life. It's about your choices.
Yeah.
Number two, I came up with this and then my wife capitalized on it. You can manage what's in your family line. If you do got some type of things that happen in your family, whether you come from a family of men that just seduce women all the time, or just something that's in your family that could be potentially ugly in people's eyes. You can manage that because you don't have to be that. That's a choice. You can turn it on or you can turn it off. You know, a lot of times people just give in. But the reality of it is, before it gets way down the road where you can't control it, you can manage that. And then when me and my wife were talking, this one came out her mouth. Now check this out. You can't heal something that you are not aware of.
True story.
You can't heal something that you're not aware of. That's what we're saying. In this conversation with the good, bad, ugly, you find something you don't like. If you find something you like, keep it and magnify it. But if you find something you don't like, guess what? Once you know about it, now you can do something about it.
Right. Well, and so, we talk about how, if you don't identify something, and so when we were talking, it's like if you have something going on, health wise, and you don't know what it is, but you're only managing the symptoms, right? So you're like, oh, well, I have a fever. Okay, well, let me take a Tylenol or something because I just need to get this fever, to break or whatever. But you keep having a fever, and then that could lead to like other symptoms or other things that are going on because the root of the problem has not been addressed. Like, okay, now it's clear that you have an infection somewhere, but you don't know where. And so you could take any number of like antibiotics to help with this infection. But from a medical standpoint, certain medications are more effective on certain strains of bacteria and all those kinds of things. So the point is you have to get to the root of the matter in order to fully heal from something. You can't just manage symptoms and just get by and just, adjust this over here because your leg is shorter than the other, and so you're just going to limp along now. And we do that.
Right.
We do that. We're like, well, I can't do. I'm a terrible, this and that, so I'm not going to just even go down that road. Well, yeah, but what about actually becoming and working on being a whole person?
So she touched on something. So I hope it don't slip my mind. It slipped my mind.
Talking about looking at symptoms and
Yeah. So don't just treat the symptoms. Get to the root, and if you don't like it, pluck it up. Pure and
But
simple.
it's important. It's a really important thing.
Catch it in early stages.
Catch it in early stages, but even if you don't, it's important to spend that time to really self-evaluate and try to figure out and try to pinpoint, like, why am I, triggered by this thing over here? Or what is that? Where does that come from? That why do I behave that way? Why do I feel this way about certain things? And once you get some sort of an understanding of things, then that's when you can truly change and grow and heal from things that are in your past.
True change. I think our light is going out. I think we should end. We won't be looking crazy. Okay. So pay attention to those points of interest. Comment, DM us. We love y'all, and we look forward to spending the next time with you when we come back again. And hopefully I'm working on a promo, so I'm trying out my skills. So I just want y'all to know that some new and expressive things is going to be happening with the conversations with Brian
and Sara
Oliver. We got it. Next time.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.